This PowerPoint is packed full of important information about the Phalaenopsis amabilis, more commonly known as the moth orchid. So fasten your seatbelts and keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times. Here we go. Let's get to know the moth orchid a little bit better. Amabilis means charming. Phalaenopsis means like a moth. There are 53 Phalaenopsis species plus 13 outgroups. I've broken down some of the key morphological attributes of the moth orchid and tried to pinpoint how form follows function. For example, the form of the wing-shaped flowers follows the function, which appears as a moth in flight. When researching any organism, it is crucial to use reliable resources. It is equally as important when doing the research yourself to ensure that data is available to future researchers. Data is the new science. A few resources I had luck with when researching the moth orchid include iDigBio, iNaturalist, and Atlas of Living Australia. The moth orchid, as we know it today, is quite domesticated. Often being found in offices and homes, the regimen for maintaining water is a bit unique. The moth orchid limits evaporation from its surfaces by having a waxy cuticle. The moth orchid is not mobile. Thus, it acquires water via rainfall in nature. As I said before, orchids outside of their natural habitat are quite unique. After watering inside, the orchid's roots should appear greenish in color. Come from open, breezy environments. A gentle breeze provides vital gas exchange and can prevent some diseases. The xylem are responsible for transporting water and the phloem to transport sugars and nutrients. The movement of water throughout the plant is driven by the loss of water through its leaves and flowers, which is transpiration. Orchid is an autotroph, which entails having the ability to form nutritional organic substances from simple inorganic substances such as carbon dioxide. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner of the slide, the sun supplies the orchid with the nutrients needed to conduct photosynthesis, and then, in turn, serves as a food source for the caterpillar. While orchids have a large phylogenetic tree due to a wide range of species variation, one of the main reasons their tree dates so far back in time is the extensive fossil record left behind. With the help of a few other organisms, of course. For example, the extinct species of the stingless bee was found encased in amber with a well-preserved part of an ancient orchid attached to its back. The amber, dug up in a mine in the Dominican Republic, is believed to be 10 to 15 million years old. Plants may not have eyes or ears, but they do have senses that detect things like light and gravity. Plants, such as the moth orchid, cannot move. They are rooted in one location for life. Therefore, they must respond by adjusting their pattern of growth and development. Plants of the same species are far more diverse than animals of the same species for this particular reason. This particular slide contains a lot of information. I found an article that summed up all of my findings nicely. Unlike animals, plants are unable to run away from harmful conditions. Instead, plants appear to have developed intricate stress defense systems to sense their environment and help them detect danger, and thus respond appropriately. A chemical response is the orchid's defense mechanism. Good news though, orchids are perfectly safe to have in your home with your pets. Fusarium is one of the major disease-causing pathogens infecting orchids that is actually spreading throughout international trade. Studies have identified several symptoms such as leaf and flower spots, pseudostem or root rots, and also wilts. Reproduction in all living organisms revolves around the same goal, getting genes into the next generation. Orchids can undergo both sexual and asexual reproduction. Many orchid flowers have developed close relationships with distinct pollinators. For example, the color pattern on the labellum may resemble the mate of the pollinator. The type of asexual reproduction taking place in orchids is self-pollination. This is the same process as sexual reproduction, except it is pollinated by pollen from itself, not another individual. After researching the moth orchid all semester, it was tricky to narrow it down to just a few of my favorite interesting facts. There are more than 25,000 documented orchid species throughout the world. This means that the number of orchids on the planet is 4 times the number of birds and 4 times the number of mammals. That's a lot of orchids. Each orchid flower is bilateral symmetric, which means that it can be divided into 2 equal parts. People use orchids for numerous purposes. Substances isolated from orchids are used in industry of perfumes, spices, and traditional Asian medicine. While they are not facts, they are just too cool not to share. Check out the photos of the monkey orchid and the owl orchid. Thanks again for watching.